Percussion on a whole nother level coming from my mind.
Hello everyone, welcome. My name's Alex, and welcome to Conversations Beyond, the AA podcast. I'll be talking with you today. We have a very special guest speaker today, Henry Palacios. He's representing PwC, and he'll be talking to us in general, recent graduation, having to land a job at the Big Four, and able to be successful. Someone in our eyes, someone we're aspiring to be, in hopes of graduating and landing a job, whether it's Big Four or mid-tier. So hopefully you enjoy this episode. And we did have some technical difficulties, so we will not be having a full video podcast like I intended, but unfortunately we are going to make it work. We do have the audio recording, which I'll be playing after this, and look forward to our next episodes. Will be full video podcasts. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to the first episode of Conversations Beyond, the AA podcast. I have with me a special guest speaker today from PwC. He's a recent CSUN graduate. His name is Henry Palacios. Say hi, Henry.
Hello, everybody.
So, when did you graduate CSUN? How long ago was that?
Basically like a year ago, May 22, 2022.
Okay. And so you were here as a 4-year true CSUN student, or were you a transfer student?
Yes, right after high school, 2017, transfer in. Didn't know it was like a 5-year thing. Didn't know about the 150 units until like later on into like sophomore year. So ended up doing 5 years here. So
okay, I hear that a lot. I came in as a transfer student myself, so I found out afterwards how, like some of our accounting classes, I came from Santa Monica College, where our accounting had 5 units rather than the 3 here at CSUN. So I thought that was pretty interesting, how they have the 5-year program. But in the end, you made it out, you graduated, and you're now working at PwC. Tell us a little bit about that experience. How did you get that job?
yeah, so just networking and attending all the AA events, just developing, from regular old high school kid who doesn't know much. So going to meet the firms, the networking workshop, mock interviews, developing those soft skills, and just making friends. They pushed me to apply for the STAR internship, which is like a diversity internship.
Right.
And long story short, got the offer. It was 2 summers, and like everybody, 90% of the students who get that internship get a full-time position afterwards.
Nice. And then the START internship, I think it's a 3-week program, or how many weeks is that?
It's like about, mine was a little weird because I did it during COVID, but it's usually like around a month and a half, around there. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard about that. It's a great way for getting your feet wet and then getting to know a bit of firm and culture. You hear a lot about that, where many firms talk about culture when they're recruiting. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about PwC's culture that you've experienced so far.
Yeah, honestly, it's such a big firm that we have different sectors, right? Like assets and wealth management and consumer industrial products, or like, so even between the sectors, it's just different people all around. So you kind of just have to find your crowd, move around.
Right.
But yeah.
Okay. And correct me if I'm wrong, you were trying to specialize in real estate, correct?
Yes.
So maybe talk a little bit about that. What is there an importance to specializing, or why did you choose real estate?
Real estate just to become rich. No. My goal overall is to one day just own a bunch of like real estate properties and just live off of like the rent money and whatnot. So that's what I wanted to go more into, like the real estate and assets and wealth management side in PwC, kind of learn all the background, all the accounting to it, and then hopefully start a business on the side.
Nice. Yeah, I this summer I also had an internships where I got to learn a bit more on real estates, but more particularly in trusts and wealth management as well. So we call them 706s. I don't know if you've worked with those yet.
No.
So those, in general, it's once a person, trustor, has died, inheritance, you kind of make your way into learning more about who's going to own what and distributions. So I thought that was something interesting going into it, and it's a very niche sector. So as well as real estate with the interest rates and everything going on these days, I think you're going to be in a nice position when it comes time to interest rates dropping and people trying to capitalize on purchasing land.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, so I'm still learning. Like, I haven't caught the whole grasp of like what my position is and like what seniors does and all that stuff. So it's a big learning curve once you start full time, but slowly but surely you catch up.
Right. So talking on that, you were in CSUN, you graduated, you've been working here for a while now. From our perspective, what are things that you think you would change or give advice to, us trying to graduate and try to get into a position, whether it's Big Four, mid-tier, any tips or what are things that you would talk about?
I think the route I went was pretty well. Like I said, attending all the AA events and just building up that network and just getting to know as many professionals as possible. At the end of the day, after Meet the Firms or like any event where there be a technical meeting, the recruiter takes feedback from the professionals, like, oh, who stood out to you, like, is there anybody you would kind of recommend or see working at the firm?
Right.
So I think just going to those events and really like making a good connection and vouching for people, like that would be a good way to go about it.
Right. Were you the type of person at Meet the Firms that you were super prepared? You had that special resume paper. Did you have any highlights, or what were things that you tried to talk about to stand out from others?
I think the second time around I did have the special resume paper, but that first Meet the Firms, because I lived all the way from South LA, so I got here and I totally forgot to bring my professional shoes. I hadn't even bought my ticket, so I was just gonna pay like the $100 at the door.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was recommended not to go and just try it out next year, which is what I did. By that point, I already had like my resume ready and everything was just set to go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, second time around, I had the fancy resume paper and everything, and I felt pretty well prepared.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So working at PwC, right? You had your internship. You were under the STAR program. What are some key differences between that and working full time? What are some things that you think you would recommend us to maybe prepare for once we get to that position?
I think just a big change in responsibilities and time commitment and just the pace of work. Because when I did it, I was doing a lot of like copying. When I did my internship, I was doing a lot of copying and pasting, and it was during the summer, so even then there was little work going around, so a lot of the time I didn't have anything to do. I was just like networking or attending like different small meetings.
Right.
So once starting like full time, you're basically in charge of reviewing paperwork from our India team, which is a lot of the simple work that gets outsourced to them. So in a way, you're reviewing their work paper. You need to learn it real quick so you can like troubleshoot whatever issues they have. Maybe they can't find a number. The math is not mathing. So you need to like really understand that work paper and be able to help them out. So I thought that was kind of like a little shock going in. It's like day one, review this. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. So yeah, that's a little bit more like they give a lot more responsibilities. As for time commitment, they're not really pushing you all the time. They do give you a deadline, and you don't realize how hard it is to meet that deadline until you're going through the work.
Right.
So you'll be doing it, and then you're like, damn, there's a variance. Where's it coming from? And you go down the rabbit hole, and eventually you find it, and it's like a day later, and you're like, damn, it's due tomorrow. So at that point you just push yourself, stay up later. Nobody's telling you to stay up later, but you have that deadline, you got to finish it, and you got sidetracked for a little bit, but
Right.
yeah.
And then obviously you would leave like some notes or something to your supervisor, whoever's going to be the signer prepping that work, right?
Yeah, so for work papers, if it's like a math problem or like we found out that, I don't know, the client sold something, we write tick marks, which is like a little paragraph, and you would just explain like, oh, per the client, 1,000 shares were sold on December or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you actually brought up an interesting topic. As far as like programs, I know a lot of firms use different programs for their work. Obviously Excel is going to be one of the big ones. What other programs that are things that you work on that you're welcome to share with?
Yeah, I think the firm's pretty big on Alteryx, which is like data wrangling, handling like big data, like hundreds of thousands of rows where like Excel would normally crash.
Okay.
And there's the cousin to that, I forget the name off the top of my head. But yeah, just you being able to use Alteryx, and we're heading into like the AI space now.
Mm-hmm.
So getting on top of that, like I use ChatGPT. You can't use it for like legalities and whatnot, but like for more technical research, like maybe you need help doing an Excel formula or something,
Okay.
So you can ask ChatGPT like, hey, do an Excel formula that does this and this and this.
Right.
If you're not too like Excel savvy,
Right.
you can just have it do it for you, and there you go.
Right.
So just being able to use like AI, and like the firms trying to implement that more.
Right.
So like I was talking to a couple managers, and then like 2-3 years they see it like becoming a big part,
Right.
or like being implemented into PwC.
Right.
So yeah.
There's a lot. Over the summer, I was looking at a lot of articles, and a lot of firms are utilizing that. Even though we have our the screenwriters strikes and everybody going on strike in fear of ChatGPT and AI, it looks like firms are going a different direction. And rather than it being something that's to be feared, it can be something that's more utilized to your advantage, especially with our current predicament of accountants being in high demand and having that bottlenose effect with people soon to be retiring. What are some directions you think you would recommend for the AI scope?
Can you elaborate on that? Or?
Yeah. So, for example, let's say you have AI, you create this program where it'll do maybe what H&R Block will do, individual 1040s, and it'll start all the prep work for you, and rather than having a team of 10 people, now you have AI consulting this, and now you have more reviewers getting more experience so that they can be prepared once they go to the senior level, once they start going into the manager's level. So is that something that you see could be viable, or what's a direction that you think AI can be utilized for the firms?
I think it's definitely going that way. Like I said, I'm already reviewing, and we're not even in the AI space yet. So once it gets fully implemented, I think people are just going to come in, and it's going to be more of a learning curve, because you're just going to have to understand all the accounting conceptually. Because usually when you start in, you're just kind of doing all the baby stuff, all the math, and slowly building up to the conceptual accounting and guidance and whatnot. So yeah, I think it'll definitely be implemented to that point where like it's just preparing everything, and then you have new associates just reviewing the work, making sure it's correct, and they're gonna get coached on that. But yeah, I think it's definitely the future. I've used a version of ChatGPT to do my taxes before, and it got pretty close. So I don't think we're too far off from there. Yeah.
So taking a step back with PwC, when you entered in, you mentioned day one you have already big projects and you have to start reviewing. If you got stuck, were you given like a buddy, or was there a mentorship starting out that kind of guided you in the right direction, or what are some of the experiences that first week?
Yeah, so it's kind of like an unspoken hierarchy, but you usually have your experienced associate or a senior who's the one kind of coaching you and leading you through whatever section you're testing, whether it be revenue or expenses. So that's kind of like the person you go to for any like questions on whatever task you're working on. And then you are given like a another senior associate who's like your peer mentor, then you're giving a manager, and then a partner, which is like your relationship leader.
Right.
They all have like a different purpose, but you can go to them for more like technical issues that are more related to towards like everybody in the firm.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're planning to get your CPA, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Soon
How
enough.
far along are you? Have you taken any tests?
Yeah, so the firm's actually really pushing our sector to get our CPAs. So they sent out a tracker where they want us to schedule like different dates and what our plan is, what you're covering each week. So far, I already paid for the exams and everything for fAAm and BEC.
Okay.
So I need to start studying for that. I still haven't. But yeah, I know that's going to be a challenge because I'm starting busy season soon.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah, hopefully within the next year, if I'm going according to my plan, I should have it. But
Okay.
yeah.
So I know you mentioned your plan of real estate and within this year, but maybe talk a little bit about your 3-year plan. Do you have a 3-year plan? Where do you plan to be at that stage?
I think 3 years from now, I'm definitely going to be a senior.
Okay.
And fingers crossed I have my CPA. It's not that easy. I have friends who've taken it multiple times. But yeah, just a senior going through the phases. I think that's the point in my life where I want to like really think about it if I want to go the manager route
Mhm.
or just find different opportunities outside the firm.
Right.
I think that's where I'm going to be 3 years from now, because if you're going manager, you're staying already for the long run,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And so once you do get your CPA, let's say a lot of individuals have that issue with burnout. What are you doing to kind of relieve some of that stress, or is there like a specific hobby that you have, something that you can recommend for people to do once they're in that position?
There's a lot of happy hours at the firm. But I don't know. A lot of people like to reward themselves with like different trips and whatnot. Just go to like Hawaii or something, or maybe buy yourself something nice. Just like congrats, you passed and whatnot.
Right.
And I've heard from partners at the firm as well, like, hey, after you pass one, take some time off to kind of like celebrate on your own.
Okay.
So I haven't thought about what I want to do yet. Probably go out with some friends, party, be like, hey, we passed. But something along those lines.
Right. So I'll see you soon on the honorees night for Cal CPA, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So again, we're going to be soon in your position where we are going to be selecting firms as our careers and those of us that graduate. What are some parting tips that you can give us now that you've been in the working world and you might have seen things in hindsight? What are some recommendations that you want to give to anyone listening?
I think as soon as I finished college, I thought I was done being a student. I was done with midterms and everything, finals, cramming. But that's not true. If you're going to public accounting, you're always going to be a student. There's always going to be classes. Like, companies are always going to have like yearly trainings and whatnot, and all those are going to have like mini examinations. They're not hard. Obviously, it's not a midterm, but you still have to take like 2-3 days to do a training. There's always CPA. That's like 4 finals that you need to take within a year. And then on top of that, for the CPA, you also need like CPE credits, which is like different classes. So you're always going to be a student. I think that was like my mindset when I graduated. It's like, I'm done. No homework, no nothing. So I don't know, stay motivated in that student like mindset and stay ambitious, because I think as soon as I was done, I told myself I was going to study. I didn't. I just decided to enjoy my last summer. But in hindsight, I should have studied and like should have kept myself more accountable. And I think that's like some of my parting words, is find a way for you to stay accountable. Because that's something like everybody has issues with. But like the more you start thinking about it, the more you'll find something that makes you stay accountable. Because everybody's different, Some people, like I said, that trip at the end holds them accountable and motivates them. For some people, it doesn't,
Right.
I'm not much of a traveler, so it wouldn't wouldn't motivate me that much, but yeah.
And then the CPEs, that's every 2 years, I believe, right? You have to renew that because the license you have to renew every 2 years.
Yeah, you need to have a certain number,
Right.
so of credits. So yeah.
If I'm remembering right, I think it's 80. You have to have like 80 credits.
Sounds right. I'm not off the top of my head. I wouldn't know.
Yeah, like
But,
you mentioned student thing, so I'm researching right now, preparing for everything we can. I think we also have a lot of those changes coming up. So I attended a seminar where they were talking about the changes with CPAs, and they're changing one of the tests and then also extending the time frame to I think 30 months
Yep.
to take that CPA. So you have more resources as a student and advantages to try to become a CPA, but you still would recommend to have that, or at least take one of those tests before working, wouldn't you say?
if possible, yeah, take at least 1, 2, as many as you can.
Right.
I've had friends who they graduated a little bit later than me, and they had already started studying. I think one already passed one of the exams already.
Mhm.
So it just puts you in that better position, especially because in the market currently, there's not a lot of CPAs,
Right.
which is why PwC is kind of like pushing our sector to get ours, and just a lot of different companies are looking to hire more CPAs.
Right.
So
Cool. And then you would say, it sounds like universally everyone says FAR is the most difficult of the four.
yeah.
Well, best of luck that you do get your CPA. And, myself being part of Cal CPA, I like to attend a lot of the events. So I do expect to see you in the near future in that honorees night.
Yep.
Yeah. So, closing remarks. We're going to be talking more on these podcasts. We have 8 episodes lined up. Henry, thank you once again. You're excellent, being our first to bless the podcasts with your presence, and PwC as well. Thank you again for their time. And just a little closing remarks. We do have Meet the Firms coming up very soon. So if you have not signed up for that, please make sure you do that if you want to attend. You have to sign up through Handshake, get your resumes approved through the EY Center. If you need any tidbits, come visit AA. We're table sitting for the rest of the month, every day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. in Bookstein Hall. And we also have BAP collaboration event for mock Meet the Firms. I'm not sure if you'd heard about that. So you didn't have anything like that when you were here at CSUN, right?
Not a mock Meet the Firms, I think.
Yeah, so I think it's our first one this season and ever. So this should be an interesting event. I think we have several firms confirmed, I think from 5 to 7, that'll be simulating the feel of Meet the Firms. And I attended it last semester because it was my first transfer semester. Even though it was spring, I heard that fall is going to be crazier. So that should be very interesting to see. And again, I highly recommend that you check that out if you want to get a feel for getting the nerves out and just in general.
Yeah.
So anyways, I want to close things out. Our song of the week. So at the end of our podcast, I like to have a song of the week, something that you can relax to. And this is something that I like listening to when I'm doing homework or, just trying to relax and have some white noise while I'm doing my assignments and making good grades. It's called Coffee and Unicorns. So again, thank you again, Henry, and hopefully we hope to see you success, rise, and hopefully we'll all be there right behind you.
Yeah, I'll come visit.
Appreciate
Coming
it.
here next Monday for the PwC technical meeting, I think.
Oh,
Next
okay.
Monday, yeah.
Okay, so you'll be there, and you guys will also be table sitting.
Yep, I'll be table sitting, yep.
Okay, excellent. Well, there you go. If you want to get to know Henry a little more, talk with him, you guys will be sitting, I think, near the EY Center.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know a lot of students are going to be looking at treats, so you probably bring some goodies, right?
Couple candies, couple things to give away,
Right.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, again, make sure you visit, get to know about the START program, I think Destination CPA as well,
Yes.
and just in general. It'll be you and Katie and anyone else?
Yeah, we have an associate from tax coming in, and then another associate from audit, I believe. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
So if you're trying to decide audit, tax, I think it's a great opportunity. So tune in next week and catch PwC. Thanks again. Take care. So once again, we'd like to thank Henry for coming out, and thank you once again. We do look forward to seeing you in our next episode. Hopefully you enjoyed what you saw, and next week we will have our AA president, Brett Saris, as well as BAP, Eric, coming in to talk about clubs, what their objectives are, and what they plan to achieve this semester for collaborations. We do have an event at the end of this week, so make sure you do attend that, our mock Meet the Firms, first one ever. So if you do plan on attending Meet the Firms, remember to sign up. We have to sign up by the end of this week, otherwise you will have to talk to the EY Center to see if you can still get approval. So thank you once again. My name is Alex, and I look forward to seeing you in the future. Take care. Well, see, that's the look you should have had. I want to screenshot that. When you were looking down.
That.
Yeah, like kind of like that. Yeah, it'll work.
Me
So-
doing actual work.
Yeah.
So it looks like with the goodie bag, we have a shirt for you, and I'm just gonna have it up here. So we have our nice little design logo. I had heard that Yvonne Yao had made this design. Backside we have our debits and credits and AA. So
Dude, I saw this last semester and I was like, I want one. I like the little frogs.
yeah, they're cute. So that's our little merch for you. We also have a badge, some pencils, a pen. This is a high luxury pen that Sochi made for us this semester, and then the pen for you.
Thank you.
And as a token of our gratitude, from our marketing team, being our first guest speaker, we want to provide you with this as well. So it's just a small token of our appreciation and thanks for coming out to the podcast and taking time out, because we know you're very busy. And so, yeah. Please accept that. And again, thank you. And hopefully to a successful podcast. And thank you again.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Being the first.
Yeah. All right.